Jai Jai Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jai Rita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Thank you. Welcome back. Welcome to Vallabha Chandra, who just arrived. He walked all the way from Vrindavan. You couldn't find a cab, right? Okay, we're taking up at the Madhya Lila, chapter 18, the Lord's visit to Vrindavan. And we left off at around 66, so we're starting up at 67. Yes? Yes. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu then visited Shrivan and Lohavan. He then went... That's not good. Well, since we don't have sound outside right now, do you have any? Got it back?
Yes.
Okay. Resuming. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, this is text 67, then visited Shrivan and Lohavan. He then went to Mahavan and saw Gokula, the place of Lord Krishna's early childhood pastimes. Of Shrivan, also called Bilvavan, the Bhakti Ratnakara states, Devata Pujita Bilvavan Shobhamai. The beautiful forest of Bilvavan is worshipped by all the demigods. About Lohavan, the Bhakti Ratnakara states, at Lohavan, Lord Krishna used to tend cows. The demon named Lohajanga was killed at this place. Who knows who the demon Lohajanga is? Can you look it up? He doesn't sound good. Lohajanga. Mahavan is described as follows in the Bhakti Ratnakara. Behold the house of Nanda and Jashoda at Mahavana. See the birthplace of Lord Krishna. Mahavana and the birthplace of Lord Krishna, Gokula, are one and the same. Upon seeing the place where the twin Arjun trees had been broken by Sri Krishna, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was moved to great ecstatic love. After seeing Gokula, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu returned to Mathura, where he saw the birthplace of the Lord. While there, he stayed at the house of the Sanodiya Brahmana. Seeing a great crowd assemble at Mathura, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu left and went to Akrura Tirtha. He remained there in a solitary place. Akrura Tirtha is also mentioned in the Bhakti Ratnakara. O Srinivas, look at this village of Akrura. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu stayed there in a solitary place. The next day, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu went to Vrindavan and took his bath at Kaliya Lake and Praskandana. Kaliya Hrada is mentioned in the Bhakti Ratnakara. When one takes a bath in Kaliya Hrada, he is freed from all sinful reactions. One can also be successful in business by bathing at Kaliya Hrada. After seeing the holy place called Praskandana, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu went to Dwashadatitya. There he went to Keshi Tirtha, and when he saw the place where the rasa dance had taken place, he immediately lost consciousness due to ecstatic love. When the Lord regained his senses, he began to roll on the ground. He would sometimes laugh, cry, dance, and fall down. He would also chant very loudly. Being thus transcendently amused, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu passed that day happily at Keshi Tirtha. In the evening he returned to Akrura Tirtha, where he took his meal. The next morning Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu returned to Vrindavan and took his bath at Chir Ghat. He then went to Tentulitala, where he took rest. The tamarind tree named Tentulitala was very old, having been there since the time of Lord Krishna's pastimes. Beneath the tree was a very shiny platform. Since the river Jamuna flowed near Tentulitala, a very cool breeze blew there. While there, the Lord saw the beauty of Vrindavan and the water of the river Jamuna. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu used to sit beneath the old tamarind tree and chant the holy name of the Lord. Amrita. This one, 78. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu used to sit beneath the old tamarind tree and chant the holy name of the Lord. At noon, he would return to Akrura Tirtha to take lunch. All the people who lived near Akrura Tirtha came to see Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, and due to the large crowds, the Lord could not peacefully chant the holy name. Therefore, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu would go to Vrindavan and sit in a solitary place where he would chant the holy name until noon. In the afternoon, people were able to speak to him. The Lord told everyone of the importance of chanting the holy name. During this time, a Vaishnava named Krishnadas came to see Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. He was a householder belonging to the Kshatriya caste, and his house was located on the other side of the Jamuna. After bathing at Keshi Tirtha, Krishnadas went toward Kaliyadaha and suddenly saw Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu sitting at Amlital, Tentulitala. Upon seeing the Lord's personal beauty and ecstatic love, Krishnadas was very much astonished. Out of ecstatic love, he offered his respectful obeisances unto the Lord. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu asked Krishnadas, "Who are you? Where is your home?" Krishnadas replied, "I am a most fallen householder. I belong to the Rajput caste, and my home is just on the other side of the river Jamuna, but I wish to be the servant of a Vaishnava." Today I have had a dream, and according to that dream I have come here and found you. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu then bestowed upon Krishnadas his causeless mercy by embracing him. Krishnadas became mad with ecstatic love and began to dance and to chant the holy name of Hari. Krishnadas returned to Akrura Tirtha with the Lord, and remnants of the Lord's food were given to him. The next morning, Krishnadas went with Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu to Vrindavan and carried his water pot. Krishnadas thus left his wife, home and children in order to remain with Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Everywhere the Lord went, all the people said, "Krishna has again manifested at Vrindavan." One morning, many people came to Akrura Tirtha. As they came from Vrindavan, they made a tumultuous sound. Upon seeing Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, all the people offered respects at his lotus feet. The Lord then asked them, "Where are you all coming from?" The people replied, "Krishna has again manifested himself on the waters of Kaliya lake. He dances on the hoods of the serpent Kaliya, and the jewels on those hoods are blazing. Everyone has seen Lord Krishna himself. There's no doubt about it." Hearing this, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu began to laugh. He then said, "Everything is correct." For 3 successive nights, people went to Kaliyadaha to see Krishna, and everyone returned saying, "Now we have seen Krishna himself." Everyone came before Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu and said, "Now we have directly seen Lord Krishna." Thus, by the mercy of the goddess of learning, they were made to speak the truth. When the people saw Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, they actually saw Krishna, but because they were following their own imperfect knowledge, they accepted the wrong thing as Krishna. At that time, Balabhadra Bhattacharya placed a request at the lotus feet of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. He said, "Please give me permission to go see Lord Krishna directly." The puzzled people who visited Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu were actually seeing Lord Krishna, but they were mistaken in thinking that Lord Krishna had come to Kaliya lake. They all said that they had seen Krishna directly performing his pastimes on the hoods of the serpent Kaliya, and that the jewels on Kaliya's hoods were blazing brilliantly. Because they were speculating with their imperfect knowledge, they saw Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu as an ordinary human being and a boatman's light in the lake as Krishna. One must see things as they are through the mercy of a spiritual master. Otherwise, if one tries to see Krishna directly, he may mistake an ordinary man for Krishna, or Krishna for an ordinary man. Everyone has to see Krishna according to the verdict of the Vedic literatures presented by the self-realized spiritual master. A sincere person is able to see Krishna through the transparent via medium of Sri Gurudev, the spiritual master. Unless one is enlightened by the knowledge given by the spiritual master, he cannot see things as they are, even though he remains constantly with the spiritual master. This incident at Kaliyadaha is very instructive for those eager to advance in Krishna consciousness. When Balabhadra Bhattacharya asked to see Krishna at Kaliyadaha, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu mercifully slapped him, saying, "You are a learned scholar, but you have become a fool, being influenced by the statements of other fools." Purport: Maya is so strong that even a person like Balabhadra Bhattacharya, who was constantly staying with Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, was influenced by the words of fools. He wanted to see Krishna directly by going to Kaliyadaha. But Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, being the original spiritual master, would not allow his servant to fall into such foolishness. He therefore chastised him, slapping him, just to bring him to a real sense of Krishna consciousness. Why would Krishna appear in the age of Kali? Foolish people who are mistaken are simply causing agitation and making a tumult. Purport: Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's first statement, Krishna Kene Darashana Dibe Kali Kale, refers to the scriptures. According to scripture, Krishna appears in Dwapara Yuga, but he never appears as himself in Kali Yuga. Rather, he appears in Kali Yuga in a covered form. As stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna Varnam Tosha Krishnam Sangopangashta Parshadam. Krishna appears in the age of Kali in the garb of a devotee. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, who always associates with his internal soldiers, Sri Advaita Prabhu, Sri Nityananda Prabhu, Srivas Prabhu, and Gadadhar Prabhu. Although Balabhadra Bhattacharya was personally serving Lord Krishna in his role as a devotee, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he mistook Lord Krishna for an ordinary man and an ordinary man for Lord Krishna because he did not follow the rules set down by śāstra and Guru. Do not become mad. Simply sit down here and tomorrow night you will go see Krishna. The next morning some respectable gentleman came to see Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu and the Lord asked him, "Have you seen Krishna?" These respectable gentlemen replied, "At night in Kaliya lake a fisherman lights a torch in his boat and catches many fish. From a distance, people mistakenly think that they are seeing Krishna dancing on the body of the Kaliya serpent. These fools think that the boat is the Kaliya serpent and the torchlight, the jewels in his hoods. People also mistake the fisherman for Krishna. Actually, Lord Krishna has returned to Vrindavan. That is the truth. And it is also true that people have seen him. But where they are seeing Krishna is their mistake. It is like considering a dry tree to be a person." Purport: the word stanu means a dry tree without leaves. From a distance, one may mistake such a tree for a person. This is called stanu purusha. Although Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was living in Vrindavan, the inhabitants considered him an ordinary human being, and they mistook the fisherman to be Krishna. Every human being is prone to make such mistakes. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was mistaken for an ordinary sannyasi. The fisherman was mistaken for Krishna, and the torchlight was mistaken for bright jewels on Krishna's hoods. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu then asked them, Where have you seen Krishna directly? The people replied, you are a sannyasi, a renunciate, therefore you are a moving Narayan. Jagaman Narayana. Jangama Narayana. This is the viewpoint of Mayavad philosophy. Mayavad philosophy supports the impersonalist view that Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has no form. One can imagine impersonal Brahman in any form as Vishnu, Lord Shiva, Vivaswan, Ganesh, or Devi Durga. According to Mayavad philosophy, when one becomes a sannyasi, he is to be considered a moving Narayan. Mayavad philosophy holds that the real Narayan does not move because, being impersonal, he has no legs. Thus, according to Mayavad philosophy, whoever becomes a sannyasi declares himself Narayan. Foolish people accept such ordinary human beings as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is called Vivartavad. In this regard, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments that Jangama Narayan means that the impersonal Brahman takes a shape and moves here and there in the form of a Mayavadi sannyasi. The Mayavad philosophy confirms this. Danda grahana matrena naro narayano bhavet. Simply by accepting the danda of the order of sannyas, one is immediately transformed into Narayan. Therefore, Mayavadi sannyasis address one another by saying, Om Namo Narayanaya. In this way, one Narayan worships another Narayan. Actually, an ordinary human being cannot become Narayan. As the chief Mayavadi sannyasi, Sri Shankaracharya says, Narayana paro vyaktat. Narayan is not a creation of this material world. Narayan is above the material creation. Due to their poor fund of knowledge, Mayavadi sannyasis think that Narayan, the Absolute Truth, takes birth as a human being, and that when he realizes this, he becomes Narayan again. They never consider why Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, would accept an inferior position as a human being, and then again become Narayan when he is perfect. Why should Narayan be imperfect? Why should he appear as a human being? Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu very nicely explained these points while at Vrindavan. The people then said, you have appeared in Vrindavan as an incarnation of Krishna. Just by seeing you, everyone is now liberated. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu immediately exclaimed, Vishnu, Vishnu, do not call me the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A jiva cannot become Krishna at any time. Do not even say such a thing. Purport, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu immediately stated that a living being, however exalted he may be, should never be compared to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's preaching protests the monistic philosophy of the Mayavad school. The central point of Krishna consciousness is that the jiva, the living entity, can never be accepted as Krishna or Vishnu. This viewpoint is elaborated in the following verses. A sannyasi in the renounced order is certainly part and parcel of the complete whole, just as a shining molecular particle of sunshine is part and parcel of the sun itself. Krishna is like the sun, full of six opulences, but the living entity is only a fragment of the complete whole. A living entity and the absolute personality of Godhead are never to be considered equal, just as a fragmental spark can never be considered the original flame. Purport, Mayavadi sannyasis consider themselves Brahman, and they superficially speak of themselves as Narayan. The monistic disciples of the Mayavad school, known as Smarta Brahmanas, are generally householder Brahmanas, who accept the Mayavad sannyasis as Narayan incarnate. Therefore they offer their obeisances to them. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu immediately protested this unauthorized system, specifically mentioning that a sannyasi is nothing but a fragmental portion of the Supreme Chitkana Jiva. In other words, he is nothing more than an ordinary human being. He is never Narayan, just as a molecular portion of sunshine is never the sun itself. The living entity is nothing but a fragmental part of the Absolute Truth. Therefore, at no stage of perfection can a living entity become the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This Mayavad viewpoint is always condemned by the Vaishnava school. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu himself protested this philosophy. When the Mayavadis accept sannyas and consider themselves Narayan, They become so puffed up that they do not even enter the temple of Narayan to offer respects, for they falsely think themselves Narayan himself. Although Mayavadi sannyasis may offer respects to other sannyasis and address them as Narayan, they do not go to a Narayan temple and offer respects. These Mayavadi sannyasis are always condemned and are described as demons. The Vedas clearly state that living entities are subordinate parts and parcels of the Supreme. Eko bahunam yo vididhati kaman. The Supreme Being, Krishna, maintains all living entities. Hladinya sambid ashlista satchidananda ishvara swadvidya samvrito jiva sanklesha nikarakara. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Controller, is always full of transcendental bliss and is accompanied by the potencies known as Hladini and Sambit. The conditioned soul, however, is always covered by ignorance and embarrassed by the threefold miseries of life. Thus, he is a treasure house of all kinds of tribulations. The treasure house of tribulations. This quotation of Vishnu Swami is cited in Sridhar Swami's Bhavarta Deepika commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam. Text 115. Jai Buddha kahe, Jiva ishar hai sama, Seta pashandi hoy dande tare yama. A foolish person who says that the Supreme Personality of God is the same as a living entity is an atheist, and he becomes subject to punishment by the superintendent of death, Yamaraj. Ready for the purport?
Yes.
Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that the word Pashandi refers to one who considers the living entity under the control of the illusory energy to be equal with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is transcendental to all material qualities. Another kind of Pashandi is one who does not believe in the spirit soul, the superior potency of the Lord, and therefore does not distinguish between spirit and matter. When describing one of the offenses against chanting the holy names, specifically the offense called Shruti Shastra Nindana, blaspheming the Vedic literature, Jiva Goswami states in his Bhakti Sandarbha, Yata Pashanda Margena Datatre Yarshaba Devo Pasakhanam Pashandinam. Worshippers of impersonalists like Dattatreya are also Pashandis. Concerning the offense of Aham Mama Buddhi, or Dehatma Buddhi, considering the body to be the self, Jiva Goswami says, Deva Dravinadi Nimataka Prashanda Shabdena Cha Dasha Parabda Eka Lakshante Prashanda Mayatvatesham. Those who are overly absorbed in the conception of the body and the bodily necessities are also called Pashandis. That's like a functional atheist. Elsewhere in the Bhakti Sandarbha, it is stated, a Pashandi is one who considers the demigods and the Supreme Personality of God. Did you catch that one about the materialist? Those who are overly absorbed in the conception of the body and the bodily necessities are also called Pashandis. Yes, Vaisheshika, I got it. A Pashandi is one who considers the demigods and the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be one. Therefore, a Pashandi worships any kind of demigod as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who disobeys the orders of the spiritual master is also considered a Pashandi. The word Pashandi has been described in many places in Srimad Bhagavatam, including 4.2.20 and 30, 32 and 32, 5, 6, 9, and 12.2, 13, and 3, 43. On the whole, a Pashandi is a non-devotee who does not accept the Vedic conclusions. In the Hari Bhakti Vilas, there is a verse quoted from the Padma Purana describing the Pashandi. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu quotes this verse as the following text: Yastu Narayanam Devam Brahma Rudradi Daivatai Samatvainaiva Viksheta Sapashandi Bhavedruvam. A person who considers demigods like Brahma and Shiva to be on an equal level with Narayan is to be considered an offender, or Pashandi. After Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu explained the difference between an ordinary living being and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the people said, "No one considers you an ordinary human being. You are like Krishna in every respect, in both bodily features and characteristics. By your bodily features we can see that you are none other than the son of Nanda Maharaj, although the golden luster of your body has covered your original complexion. As the aroma of deer musk cannot be concealed by wrapping it in a cloth, your characteristics as the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be concealed by any means. Indeed, your characteristics are uncommon and beyond the imagination of an ordinary living being. Simply by seeing you, the entire universe becomes mad with ecstatic love for Krishna. If they see you just once, even women, children, old men, meat-eaters, and members of the lowest caste, immediately chant the holy name of Krishna, dance like a madman, and become spiritual masters capable of delivering the whole world." You want to hear it again? Yes. Okay, here you go. If they see you just once, even women, children, old men, meat-eaters, and members of the lowest caste immediately chant the holy name of Krishna, dance like madmen, and become spiritual masters capable of delivering the whole world. Want to hear it again? Yes. If they see you just once, even women, children, old men, meat-eaters, and members of the lowest caste immediately chant the holy name of Krishna, dance like madmen, and become spiritual masters capable of delivering the whole world. Hare, Hare. Apart from seeing you, whoever listens to your holy name is made mad with ecstatic love for Krishna and is able to deliver the three worlds. Simply by hearing your holy name, dog-eaters become holy saints. Your uncommon potencies cannot be described in words. Yanamadhyaya shravanad kirtanad yat pravanad yat smaranad api kvachit shradho pisadya savanaya kolpate kutak punaste bhagavan nudarshanat. To say nothing of the spiritual advancement of persons who see the Supreme Person face to face, even a person born in a family of dog-eaters becomes immediately eligible to perform Vedic sacrifices if he once utters the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or chants about him, hears about him, about his pastimes, offers him obeisances, or even remembers him. I mean, what does it mean to utter? What is the etymology of utter? Excellent question. Thank you. Utter has a surprisingly deep and ancient history that reflects how language evolves from outer meaning and speech. Let's look at it step by step. Old English roots. Old English, utera, meaning outer, outside, or farthest out. That was from the 60s. Related to ut, out, and utera, outer, farther out, 60s. Both derived from the Proto-Germanic root, ut, meaning out, beyond. So originally, utter meant outermost or complete, not to speak. Two separate but related origins. Interestingly, utter in modern English has two different but etymologically related senses that developed along separate paths. Utter, the adjective, complete, absolute. From Old English, utera, meaning outermost. Over time, outermost took on the sense of to the fullest extent. Hence, utter darkness, utter confusion, utter bliss. Am I looking at the right word?
That might be the noun.
Yeah. Utter the verb to speak, to express aloud. Came into English later, around the 13th century, from Middle Dutch or Middle Low German, uteren, both meaning to put out, to show outwardly. It also connects back to the same root, ut, out. So to utter words literally means to put out sound, to bring something from within to without. Proto-Indo-European root. Both senses trace back to Proto-Indo-European root, ud or uteros, meaning up, out, beyond. This is related to Latin, ex, out of, and Sanskrit, ud, as in udgana, chanting out loud. Interestingly close to your theme of sound manifestation. Hey, you're not supposed to cross over from the summary table anyway. To utter. Don't follow me now. Okay, so if you just utter, comes from the inside to out. To say nothing of the spiritual advancement of persons who see the Supreme Person face to face. Even a person born in a family of dog-eaters becomes immediately eligible to perform Vedic sacrifices if he once utters the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead or chants about him, hears about his pastimes, offers him obeisances, or even remembers him. These glories of yours are only marginal. Originally, you were the son of Maharaj Nanda. Purport: the original characteristics of a substance are called swarup, and the subsequent corollaries are called tatastha lakshana, or marginal characteristics. The glories of the Lord's marginal characteristics prove him to be the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, the son of Maharaj Nanda. As soon as one understands this, one accepts Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu then bestowed his causeless mercy upon all the people there, and everyone became ecstatic with love of God. Finally, they all returned to their homes. Now we'll take a few reflections or questions. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, inside people's party?
I was struck how easily people can be misguided by their emotions and senses on the path of spirituality. And I was wondering if you could speak about the importance of evaluating our experiences in Krishna consciousness via the medium of Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu, rather than just relying on some imaginative ecstasy in order to. It seems to me like a cheating propensity, that you want to cut corners in order to feel like you've attained something. So I was wondering if you could just speak on the importance of intelligence guided by Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu.
Well, I just heard Prabhupada saying this morning about what it means to be a Rūpānuga. And he said that Rūpānugas back everything up with śāstra. And that means when you back things up with śāstra, that you're staying accountable. If we go off-road and either speculate, or if we don't give the correlating śāstra, Prabhupada was very clear about, or he set an example for this constantly. When he would give darśans, he had this phrase, find out that verse. Prabhupada knew where the verse was, he even knew the verse, but he would tell his assistant, find out that verse, and they would scramble to find it, open the book, and find the verse and then say it. As Prabhupada was demonstrative about the fact that whatever statement he was making was following śāstra. And it can be that somebody will give a talk and then they don't refer to it. And it leaves one hanging a little bit. So on the positive side, Prabhupada set the example, and he wanted us to be śāstra sunipana, which means to see the interconnectedness of all the śāstras and be able to refer to śāstra whenever we bring up spiritual points. And he gave this example. He said, when you go to court as a lawyer, you have to be able to back up your legal theory from the law books. So if you go in and you just say, I think this guy's guilty, and the judge says, why? And you go, I don't know, I just feel like that. Then you don't have any case. You have to be able to show evidence and also show legal theory from the books. Prabhupada said we should know these books, the canon that we've been given, the way a lawyer knows his books. Is that what you're looking for? Hare Krishna. Okay. Mukaravind, were you next? Yes.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. I was just appreciating the theme, or maybe let me start saying that when I came to Krishna consciousness and like reading Prabhupada's book, like him beating Mayavadi's impersonalist, it doesn't make so much sense to me because maybe I don't have that kind of things. But when I'm now Chaitanya Charitamrita, we read Madhya Lila from starting to like at least for so many days. I could see that it is coming in parampara, and he was just fidelity to his parampara system. That we can see that how Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is like bringing again and again, and he's not he's bringing that impersonal path, like how it is well spread. And even in this recently, that what you are reading, that when that person says that you are Narayan, then immediately he contracted and brought that theory up to the right point. No, it's not like I'm Narayan, not ordinary person can be. So I could see that he was very fidelity to his parampara, what is passed down. It was not his own point. He was just trying to present the lineage that he comes in, and he presented that in a very, very like amazing way that I am able to appreciate now when I am reading this whole Madhya Lila. And another thing, that on the same point that you were saying to Devrat Prabhu's answer, that theme we can see that he will quote some general point in the verses, and then he'll immediately bring a Shastra's proof after a few verses. Okay, why is saying that, how it is proven by the Shastra. So we can even see that thing in the Madhya Lila or any in this text of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. He is doing the exactly same thing what Prabhupada was doing. So it's like coming in the parampara. I had that thought and realization.
Yeah, nice, important points. And consider the history also. Why was it that even respectable people who were there in Vrindavan had this idea that a sannyasi was Narayan? It's because of Shankaracharya's campaign. They had Sringeri Math, and they started maths all over India, and then they propagated so heavily that that's what everyone believed in, as that was the main thing. And Caitanya Mahaprabhu came to re-educate people, and it took a systematic effort. That's why he had the Goswamis write all their literatures, and that's why our acharyas asked us not just to learn the books, but also to distribute them in mass to people all over the world. Okay, now there was a couple from the Outside People's Party, Nanda, and then Nitya Tarangani, I think.
Hare Krishna. It's the same point, the same verse reference that Mukaravind just mentioned, verse 109, when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked them, "Where have you seen Krishna directly?" The people replied, "You are a sannyasi, a renunciant, therefore you are a moving Narayan." And then he Prabhu mentioned that Srila Prabhupada right away in the purport says, this is Mayavad philosophy. Then Lord Chaitanya speaks a little bit more, and then those same people give a very clear understanding that, oh no, you're really Krishna, you're the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here's my question, and here's my answer to my own question, and I want to check to see if it's correct. Okay, so how do the people go from the misconception that Lord Chaitanya was a moving Narayan to the understanding that he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead? And I'm thinking it's because Lord Chaitanya uttered the correct philosophy to them about how the living entity can never be Narayan, etc. But also by hearing him directly, hearing Lord Chaitanya directly, he infused the correct understanding in them. And is that correct? Now I'm asking.
I concur.
Okay, thanks.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Since this morning, we have 22 people who tuned in online for the readings. And I have a couple of questions and reflections from them. Should I read all of them?
Sure.
Okay.
Couple means two, right?
Yes. Maybe more than two reflections.
Then it's several. Which means, what does several mean? We looked it up. 1,000. It's more than three? More than a few and less than many is several. It's not too big of a number. Vijay Prabhu says it's less than 10.
It's definitely less than 10. We have one reflection from one comment from His Grace Divyanga Prabhu. He's saying, Vaish, you are the transcendental energizer bunny.
Hare Krishna Divyanga Prabhu. Thank you for your encouragement.
The next one is a question from Preeti Purna Madhavi Mataji. Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam. Maharaj, while living in the close association of devotees, what are the offenses we can avoid committing? As mentioned that offenders don't get bhakti. Also, are offenses proportional to the level of one's devotion?
Well, one shouldn't criticize devotees unless there's some practical criticism, and don't take part in blaspheming devotees who have dedicated their lives to propagating the holy name of the Lord. That's offensive. So one should be careful about that. And in the Madhurya Kadambini, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that as we make progress from Shraddha to Prema, there are various stages that we go through. And he said the only limitation is the residual effects of our previous offenses, especially offending devotees. And when those are all cleared, then one can move forward. So those who are serious about advancing Krishna consciousness are careful. I hope that helps. Let's hear the next one.
Next question is from Indranuja Prabhu. What is the qualification?
Indranuj. Konnichiwa. Okay, go ahead.
What is the qualification for a Mayavadi to merge into Krishna's effulgence? Just Aparadhanama will suffice?
Well, Brihad Bhagavatamrita and elsewhere in the Bhagavatam, there has to be some sense of bhakti to merge into the effulgence of the Lord. And even as described in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, it's not that the living entity, because his constitutional position is to serve Sanatana Goswami says once he merges into the Brahmalok, or the effulgence of the Lord, then he does some service by sparkling. But as far as the qualification goes, to merge, it's not altogether certain how much people merge, because Ariya Krishna Parampadam Tata, the verse casts doubt on people's level of liberation. That verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Yene Ravindaksha Vamuktamaninas. They have impure intelligence and they think that they're liberated. It's not necessarily so, because they haven't developed a relationship with Krishna. And even if they find some so-called position of liberation or merging, they're likely to fall down from that position. Anyway, Andrew, it's a tricky question. I have to think about it a little bit more. Just the way you pose questions is always challenging. Not always, but that one is. Okay, is there another one?
There is one last reflection from Vaikuntha Prabhu. I liked this one line that really struck me. Servant of everybody is servant of nobody. Usually people accuse devotees of being narrow-minded, but the reality is that these non-devotees who profess broad-mindedness are cleverly trying to escape Sharanagati by word jugglery.
That's a good point, Vaikuntha Nayaka. Thank you very much. Yes, please go ahead.
In text 14, the translation says, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu then marked his body with tilak from the mud of Radha Kund with the help of Balabhadra Bhattacharya. He collected some of the mud and took it with him. And Prabhupada wrote the Chaitanya Charitamrita and he uses Gopi Chandan. So what should devotees do? Follow Lord Chaitanya, because some devotees do use tilak from Radha Kund, but Prabhupada didn't.
Hey, just do what Prabhupada did. Keep life simple.
Thank you.
Malati once told me, I was sending texts out. I was on my way to Vrindavan. I was sending these texts to a bunch of devotees saying, Radhe, Radhe. And she wrote back and said, thank you. But Prabhupada said, they say Radhe, Radhe, we say Hare Krishna. And she often has very straightforward points to make about Prabhupada did this or he did it like that. And we find devotees that were around Prabhupada, they had the experience that Prabhupada was careful about changing things. For instance, now I'm not directly equating this, but I'm leading to a point. In 1975 in Chicago, there was a big kirtan going on, and Dhanavir Maharaj was leading. And at that particular time in history in ISKCON, there was a fad where during the kirtan, you'd skip a line of Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. You'd skip the Maha Mantra and keep the Madanga going, because then you'd rev up the kirtan, but there was no chanting at that time. And he did that, and he was going because everyone was doing it at that time. Huge kirtan, hundreds of devotees, and Prabhupada waved from his Vyasa and stopped the whole kirtan. Came dead silent. He said, "Who has taught you this?" And then he said, "This is not the process." He said, "Brahmananda, you lead." And Brahmananda said, Hare Krishna, Hare. And other such things where Prabhupada would notice that there were little tweaks here and there. Also, there are so many fads in ISKCON, huge beads, so big, look like if you're carrying it like you were pregnant or something. And Prabhupada makes some comment about it. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta also mentioned to his Matbasis, he said, they should avoid foppery, which means foppery. Do I have to go to ChatGPT? A fop is somebody, they look for some fancy style to outdo everybody else, to really stand out in the crowd. So, nothing against Radhakund Tilak, except for if people ask me, it's easier just to say, okay, Prabhupada said they say Radhe Radhe, we say Hare Krishna. Don't get into being Radhe Radhe all the time. Instead of just, you don't have to speculate if Prabhupada used Gopi Chandan Tilak, then just do that. If anybody asks, just say, yeah, Prabhupada did it, so I'll do that. You can always find some exception to the rule, and it's easier just to be closer to what Prabhupada did. That's my thought. Any last thing? Oh, yes, we have research on a demon. Demons for 500.
Lohajanga was mentioned in this chapter. The name literally means iron thigh. Loha, iron, Janga, thigh. And in the traditional narrative, Krishna tore him in two halves. It's mentioned in the Bhakti Ratnakar, which is what was quoted in the verse here. But it doesn't look like, I couldn't find any other mention of it, of Prabhupada in any kind of lectures or classes. But he preserved it from the Bhakti Ratnakar. And it looks like there are several demons, lesser demons, who are in other texts such as the Garga Samhita and the Bhakti Ratnakar, which are part of the Braj lore, but Prabhupada didn't mention.
Okay. Sounds good. Was that Gopinath? You wanted to make a point about Radhakund Tilak? Or something? A question, a comment, something?
I also found some things on Lohajanga Sura.
Oh.
Just like Prabhu said, iron thigh is said and iron skin is also said. And there are two accounts of the demon. One to say he was killed by Krishna, living in a cave next to Krishna Kund, whilst he was grazing the cows. And the other account says he was killed by Shatrugana. But there's no definitive story. The original statement comes from the Varaha Purana, where it just says he lived in Braj, and the forest is named after him.
Nice work, Gopinath. Thank you very much. Okay, yes, Madhav.
Just that in text 125, my version has a purport, like a big one.
125? Yours has a big purport and ours doesn't?
Not so big, but it has a purport.
We don't have any purport. Is it from the Srimad Bhagavatam?
No, it's just Prabhupada's purport.
I know, but in the purport here, he says, for this explanation, go to Srimad Bhagavatam 3:30-36 or see Madhya Lila chapter 16.
No, I get a whole page of writing.
But I'm just asking if he had taken from Srimad Bhagavatam 3:36 and inserted it there.
Oh, maybe. That
could be it.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic purport. It's really important. Okay, and the last one from the Outside People's Party, I see a hand, but I can tell that's a Chinta Caitanya, right?
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Okay, so thank you for explaining very nicely about Rūpānugas and how they're always centered in śāstra. Of late, I've been thinking that Prabhupada in the Bhagavatam emphasizes that both the book Bhagavata and the person Bhagavata are important. And fortunately, Srila Prabhupada, being the founder Acharya of ISKCON, is the perfect Bhagavata. And we have so many biographies of Srila Prabhupada. We have so much letters that he wrote. We have conversations that he had. We have lectures that he gave. So the repository of information that we have about how Srila Prabhupada did things is voluminous. So since Srila Prabhupada gave us the mandate, do as I'm doing. So I've been thinking that we need to study his life very carefully, so that it enters into our everyday life conversations. For example, if we have a particular situation that is facing us, then we should be able to immediately discuss, okay, in this circumstance, Prabhupada did this here, he did this somewhere else, and then try to consolidate it and see what exactly we should do. Sometimes we may have precedents where Prabhupada exactly did something according to the situation that we are facing, but sometimes we may not have, but we may have something closer. So a discussion among devotees of what Srila Prabhupada actually did in various circumstances connected to what we are facing would illuminate us how to do things as he mandated us. Do as I'm doing, And I think that that would bring a whole different way of doing things, because what I've noticed is that devotees read Srila Prabhupada's books and everybody has an idea, okay, this is how we should do things, But then if we study his life, he is the perfect Bhagavata, we'll get a much clearer idea of how we should be doing things, and that would avoid conflicts also, because everybody would be trying to understand how Prabhupada did things and how we should follow him.
Thank you, Prabhu,
Thank you
for that insight. I don't know if it will avoid conflicts necessarily, but for those who have cultivated such knowledge, it's noticeable when we're around those who spent time with Prabhupada that they have anecdotes from things Prabhupada said, and the way he said them, and so forth. And it's revealing, and oftentimes it leads one to not such a hard conclusion, not such a straightforward conclusion, but more about the mood in which Prabhupada did things, because his mood was a certain way. But I agree with you. We do have available material. I find it especially helpful, though, while we have the opportunity to hear from people who got trained by Prabhupada. There's not that many left, but the times I've spent with devotees who were personally trained by Prabhupada, I always found that I was edified by it in understanding Prabhupada's intentions and the way he managed things from devotees who were there. But of course, even amongst those devotees, and one may find slight differences of opinion. And even from anecdotes we can find variations, but the principles are what emerge very clearly. I have a friend who had been estranged from his service in ISKCON and service in general for some time due to many factors, but part of it was just being confused about Prabhupada's intentions or how to conduct oneself or how the movement was going. And so to support your point, one resource that helped him immensely was reading Prabhupada's letter books. They were compiled some time ago, and there's a Shikshamrita, but there were 5 books. I actually happen to have a set of them, miraculously, that they were just the raw letters printed. All of whatever were available, they were put into one book. And he read all those letters, and he got a much more personal sense, because Prabhupada was answering people personally. So he was uplifted by that and was able to get back on track in his devotional service because of reading Prabhupada's letter books. So that sounds like it's supportive of your theory, right? Chinta Caitanya Prabhu? Just an emoji will do. Okay, thank you very much. So let's see. Let's take a short break. We'll come back here at 20 after.